that term, when you're down, there's nowhere to go but up. Apparently somebody should have told the X-Men franchise that. Yeah. X-Men Origins Wolverine stars Hugh Jackman, Liev Schreiber, Taylor Kitsch, will.i.am, Danny Huston, and Lily Collins and Ryan Reynolds. And it is a prequel to the X-Men franchise that talks about the origins of Wolverine. Now, after X-Men 3 came out, first of all, X-Men 3 was like a huge like commercial success. It was like made, I think, $1 billion or something like that. But it was like the highest grossing movie of the franchise, and it still is. But because of all the hate it got from the fans and from the critics and so forth, they basically at a standstill. And so the solution was to go back and talk about the origins, and talk about the beginnings of some of the characters and things. And Fox made like this prequel plan to do like 3 movies. They were planning to do an X-Men Origins Wolverine, in X-Men Origins Magneto, and in X-Men First Class. And what happened along the way was, as they were developing the X-Men Origins Magneto script, they mushed it in with the X-Men First Class script. But that review's for my First Class review. So they obviously started with Wolverine because A, Wolverine is the most popular character, he's the fan favorite, and B, because people really wanted to see the origin of Wolverine. They wanted to see how he got that way. So that was that. And this movie is directed by Gavin Hood. And Gavin Hood, I don't know what movies Gavin Hood had directed prior to Wolverine, but I do know that after Wolverine, he's directing the upcoming movie Ender's Game, which, by the way, that movie looks really cool. I'll say that. The trailer looks cool. So there's that. Origins Wolverine really doesn't have any of that going for it, though. I mean, the effects first of all are terrible. They are they're absolutely they're absolutely awful, though. The action is boring as hell, and the acting is blah. Basically, it basically just, you take those elements away, and it's just not a good prequel at all. So there's that. So what's good in this movie? I think the performances of Hugh Jackman and Liev Schreiber, I thought, are good. Hugh Jackman, I kind of felt that because he was the focus of the movie, it kind of didn't bother me. Him as Wolverine this time around really didn't bother me as much because, I complained about how in the X-Men movies he took, so much screen time, and I felt that with X-Men Origins Wolverine, he really didn't need to take up the screen time because he's the main character. And so I was all right with that, and I thought Hugh Jackman did a fine performance. Liev Schreiber, in my opinion, stole the show. I thought he was a really cool Sabretooth. I mean, he's cunning, he's smart, he's funny, and yet at the same time he has like this really complex relationship with Wolverine. So I thought that was really cool. I mean, I agree. Everyone says he doesn't look like the Sabretooth from the comics, nor does he look like the Sabretooth from X-Men 1. But I was like, okay, I can put all that. I can put looks aside as long as I get a performance. And I thought he was the best actor in the movie. And if Sabretooth does ever return for an X-Men movie, I'd like to see Liev Schreiber's take. I think Liev Schreiber's a much better take than Tyler Mane, because Tyler Mane looks like Sabretooth, but he was basically just there just to fight, basically. So there's that. As for the bad, there's a lot of bad in this movie. I mean, for starters, this movie, starts out as a decent origin story. It has, like, in my opinion, really cool opening to, Wolverine. You see him in his wars. You see him, with this team that Stryker puts together. I'm like, okay, this is a really interesting origin. The moment when this movie, I felt, started to really go downhill is when they introduced all these X-Men characters, and from that point you're like, this is an X-Men origin movie. This is just an X-Men 4, basically, because they are introducing well-loved X-Men characters and shafting them to give Wolverine all the screen time. I was like, it feels like another X-Men movie, and I wouldn't have a problem with that, except for the fact that this is not an X-Men movie, this is just a Wolverine movie, and thus they have these really loved X-Men characters and not do them justice in a way. I mean, I mean, for starters though, I mean, you've got like Danny Houston as William Stryker, who plays like the young William Stryker. I thought was all right. I mean, he basically, I think anybody could have played his role, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't really think that they really needed Poseidon from Clash of the Titans to play him. I think anybody could have played him. At least I just know Danny Houston from Clash of the Titans. That's it. I don't know any other movies he's done, to be honest with you. And just, there's like, there's a lot of weird casting choices in this movie. Like, Will.i.am plays like this teleporter. I mean, first of all, why do we need another teleporter? I mean, with Nightcrawler, I understand, and Azazel I can understand in X-Men First Class because Azazel is Nightcrawler's father. So therefore, it makes sense for him to be in X-Men First Class. But I really don't understand why they needed another teleporter for X-Men, Origins Wolverine. And out of all the people, they chose Will.i.am. I don't know why they decided on Will.i.am. I don't know. Maybe it's because Gavin Hood was a fan of that song, Girl, Where'd You Get That Body From? And for some reason he just thought, oh yeah, the lead singer of the Black Eyed Peas would be perfect for him. You know what I mean? I don't know. The rest of them are just pretty forgettable X-Men characters. Like, Agent Zero, whatever his name is, he's pretty forgettable. The guy who plays the Blob, I thought, was just playing goofy for one. And there's that though. And of course, we got to talk about the two biggest X-Men characters, the two most well-loved X-Men characters in this movie that were done terribly. Okay, first of all, you got Taylor Kitsch as Gambit. This is Taylor Kitsch before John Carter and all that stuff. So you can love him right there. But anyways, he, in my opinion, was an okay Gambit though. He has the suave. He had the, he had the whole charm of him. At the same time, he could fight and kick ass. I mean, I just thought that he doesn't have the Gambit accent though. He doesn't have that because Gambit has like this French accent in some of the X-Men comic books, and he didn't have it right here, which I was like, oh, whatever. He has the Cajun accent. That's fine. But he's in the movie for like 4 or 5 minutes. I'm like, are you kidding me? Because Gambit is a character we've all been waiting for for so long. I mean, I remember back when X-Men 3 was in production, they had a script of X-Men 3, and Gambit was supposed to be featured in it, and it would have James Franco was going to play him, but for some reason they just ditched the idea, and now they have Gambit and they give him like 4 or 5 minutes, and I just felt like basically it felt like the whole Venom from Spider-Man 3 thing all over again, where you have this character that so many people love and admire, and yet give him very little screen time. I mean, it was unfair.
Mortal Kombat!
Of course, we've got to talk about the big one, the one I was angry, and it's Baraka. Otherwise known as their version of Deadpool. Okay. Deadpool is my favorite X-Men character. I love him because he never shuts up, he's violent, he loves to kill, he breaks the fourth wall, and he's just funny as hell. And, they never done a Deadpool movie, and I've always just resorted to basically the video game and cartoon versions of Deadpool. Like the Deadpool in the Hulk versus Wolverine movie, or Deadpool in the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon, or Ultimate Alliance and so forth. And I was really excited when I heard Deadpool was going to be in this movie. And I'll admit, I thought Ryan Reynolds was a weird choice, and this is before. I want to make one thing clear. I despise Ryan Reynolds. He's the actor I hate the most, but this is before I really hated him. I mean, like, I thought Ryan Reynolds was a weird choice though, and I was like, okay, let's see what Van Wilder can do. Maybe he can do something good. And for the first few minutes, when you see him on screen, he's talking with Sabretooth, and he's talking with William Stryker and so forth. I was like, wow, he's actually doing it. He doesn't have the costume on yet, but he's not shutting up. He's killing. He's enjoying it. I'm like, this is Deadpool. We're off to a good start, guys. Just give him the costume, give him the mask, and we'll be cheering. And you don't see him you don't see him like, you see him like at the very beginning of the movie, and you don't see him towards the end. And I thought to myself, oh, okay, maybe he'll be like maybe it'll be like the whole Queen alien thing at the end of Aliens, where you have like this big reveal of this villain you've been waiting to see, and it delivers. And I was kind of expecting that with Deadpool, and they mentioned, Deadpool, he is the mutant killer, and so forth. And you see Deadpool in all of his full glory, and by full glory I mean A, he doesn't have the costume on, B, his mouth is shut, so yeah, he's the merc with the mouth, and C, this is the stupidest idea I've ever heard, he has the powers of every single mutant. I'm serious, he has like, Will.i.am's powers of teleporting. He has the Wolverine's powers of like, drawing, sharp objects out of his hands, and it was not Deadpool. It made us all crazy, and I compare him to Baraka because A, he looks like Baraka, and B, because this is another criticism going back to the action, it felt like a video game, and I really mean that too. Though it felt like you're playing a video game, and you get to like the final level, like the big boss level, and it's the one who has like all the powers of everyone combined. He's just like throwing his powers at you. It was stupid. I kind of thought to myself, the thing that would make this really complete as a video game is if you play the Mortal Kombat theme over the action. In fact, yeah, let's take a look at how it would look. I'm pretty sure it would it would be exactly like a video game. It was stupid. It was absolutely stupid. And so there's that, and there was little continuity in this movie. The continuity was just bad in this movie. By spoilers, by the way, you get to the end where, Wolverine loses his memory and he gets killed with adamantium bullets. I'm like, that's stupid, because A, that's just a stupid idea that he gets bullets and they just bullets shot to his head, and he immediately, he loses his memory. And B, in X-Men 2, Wolverine's having his dreams about his operation with Weapon X, and one of them says he'll have no memory. Like, I always assumed, okay, probably when he was, becoming Wolverine in that chamber, one of the parts of the procedure was that he had to lose his memory. And in this movie, they're just like, oh, we have to lose his memory because, I don't know, he loses his memory he's supposed to lose his memory in the comics and in the movie, so we have to honor that in some way that just doesn't make sense by just having him randomly lose his memory. It's just, it was stupid. The effects that are bad in this movie, they are really, really bad. There's first of all, there's planes are flying around, they look really fake CGI, but then there's this moment in the movie where Wolverine has his claws for the first time, and he's having them interact with each other kind of like that, and the CGI just looks so bad. I mean, not to mention the powers on the other characters are so bad, and I said to myself, my god, the effects in X-Men 1 look a lot more realistic than the ones in X-Men Origins, which is bad. It's really bad, man. So the timeline is really screwed up. Okay, they say that this movie takes place 20 years before X-Men 1. So I was like, okay, X-Men 1 came out in the year 2000, and we're going back 20 years, it's 1980, or at least 1979-ish, so it's late 70s, early 80s. And for the most part, people are dressed to look that era, and the cars definitely look that era, but then there's scenes of when Wolverine's getting the claws put into him, they're using their computers. The computers are LCD HD computers, the computers we have today. And there's another scene where William Stryker is controlling Deadpool, and he's controlling him with a little wireless keyboard. I was like, are you serious? Are you serious? I mean, if you want to be true to the era, they didn't have those in that era. I'm pretty sure they didn't. It was stupid. X-Men Origins Wolverine was just a stupid movie where it could have been the return to form for the X-Men franchise. It was stupid. It was just, It was silly. It doesn't do the origin really well. And it really wasn't an origin story for long. It was more just basically, an X-Men movie. And even as a regular X-Men movie, it's bad. And, Jackman and Schreiber tried really hard, but it just wasn't enough, man. It just wasn't. And I do think it's worse than X-Men 3. Even though X-Men 3, I sounded a little bit more angrier in my X-Men 3 review, I have to say this is worse than X-Men 3, and I'm going to give Origins a D+. Just such a disappointment, man. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on X-Men Origins Wolverine. Only 2 weeks left until the Wolverine, and next week I get to review an awesome X-Men movie, X-Men First Class, man. So stay tuned.